The sound of a loudspeaker echoed through the forest. "Hayes! Archer! Come out! We don't want to hurt you too." Archer smiled faintly, a smile full of irony. "They're terrible liars." I had to nod in agreement. If they really didn't want to hurt us, they wouldn't have fired their guns less than an hour ago. Flashlight beams swept across the tree trunks. Every time the light passed by, we pressed ourselves down into the fern bushes. The sound of ATV engines grew closer. They were splitting up to search. "Follow the stream," Archer whispered. "Why?" "Water makes it harder for tracking dogs to pick up a scent." I looked at him, surprised. "You know a lot." He shrugged. "I once played a role in a special forces movie. The film's trainer was a former commando." I couldn't help laughing. "I hope your acting classes were worth it." "Tonight," he said softly. "I hope so too." We stepped down into the stream. The water was freezing cold. My twisted ankle throbbed with pain at every step. Archer said nothing. He just slowed down to stay level with me. The stream wasn't deep, only ankle-high, but the rocks underneath were slippery. I nearly fell twice. The third time, Archer grabbed my hand. This time, he didn't let go. His hand was cold, but firm. "I can walk on my own," I said. "I know. Then why hold on?" He looked straight ahead. "So you don't get lost." I laughed. "This is a forest, not a supermarket to get lost in." The corner of Archer's mouth curved up slightly. "I don't want to lose you." The words came out very naturally, as if he hadn't even realized what he'd just said. I didn't reply either. I only felt my heart skip a beat. After nearly 20 minutes following the stream, the sound of the engines grew fainter. The forest also thinned out. Ahead, a small dirt road appeared. There were fresh tire tracks. Archer crouched down to examine them. "These tracks are new. Someone just passed through. Good or bad? Depends." He looked up, scanning around. "If this is a local's road, we're saved. If it's the kidnappers' road, we're in trouble." Right at that moment, the sound of an engine rose again. But this time there was only one. An old blue pickup truck appeared around the bend. Archer and I immediately hid behind the bushes. The truck moved slowly. In the cab was an elderly man wearing a baseball cap. The truck bed was loaded with wooden crates. "What do we do?" I asked. Archer looked at me. "If we miss this truck, we might have to walk until morning. I'll flag it down." "That's dangerous." "Staying here is more dangerous." He took a deep breath and stepped straight out into the road. "Hey!" The driver was startled and slammed the brakes. Screech! The tires left a long mark on the ground. The old man opened the door and stepped out. "Good Lord! Where did you two come from?" Archer stepped forward. "Sorry for scaring you. We need help." The old man looked us over from head to toe. Dirty clothes, bloody wrists, scratched faces. His expression changed immediately. "What happened?" I was about to answer when Archer lightly touched my arm. A very gentle touch, but enough for me to understand. "Don't say everything." He looked at the old man. "We were in an accident. We lost our phones. Could you give us a ride somewhere with signal?" The old man frowned. "An accident?" I suddenly understood why Archer lied. If we mentioned kidnapping right here, who knew if the person in front of us might be involved? While we didn't yet know who to trust, saying less was safer. The old man looked around the forest, then nodded. "Get in. I'll drive you two to town. My name's Walter." "Thank you, sir," I said. As we climbed into the truck bed, Archer leaned close to my ear. "Don't fall asleep. If he changes direction, tell me right away." I nodded slightly. The truck rattled along the dirt road. I took the chance to observe. Walter looked kind. Somewhere over 60 years old. An old cowboy hat, plaid shirt. A family photo hung in the cab. Everything seemed completely normal. Maybe we had really gotten lucky. I turned to Archer. For the first time since being kidnapped, his face seemed more relaxed. "I kept thinking," I whispered, "that a famous person would find it very hard to trust others." He smiled. "True. So why did you trust me? Archer looked at me for a few seconds. Do you want the polite answer? Or the real one? The real one, of course. He leaned back against the truck bed. Because when I woke up in that room, you were the first person to ask if I was okay. Not whether I was really Archer. I froze. He continued. 4 years now. Most people who meet me only see an actor. But you. Back then you only saw a person who was tied up. I remember that. I didn't know how to respond. I just felt a lump in my throat. Right at that moment, the pickup truck suddenly braked hard. Screech! Archer and I were nearly thrown forward. Walter looked in the rearview mirror. His voice suddenly turned tense. There's a vehicle blocking the road. My heart sank. Ahead, in the middle of the narrow dirt road, 2 black SUVs were parked sideways. 3 men stepped out. One of them was the man with the silver ring. He smiled, slowly pulling a gun from his jacket, then raising it straight at Walter's truck. I told you already, he said calmly. You too. Can't run far. Walter froze in shock, both hands still gripping the wheel, his eyes wide as he stared at the 3 SUVs blocking the dirt road ahead. Who are they? He stammered. Archer and I looked at each other. We didn't need words to understand. They had tracked the tire marks. Or, they knew exactly the only road leading out of this forest. The man with the silver ring took a few more steps forward. This time I could see his face more clearly under the headlights. Somewhere past 40. Head shaved close. Eyes as cold as if he'd never known mercy. He tapped the gun barrel lightly against the hood of the SUV. Thank you, old man. You helped us find them. Walter turned to look at Archer. You too. Weren't in an accident, were you? Archer took a deep breath. I'm sorry. We didn't want to drag you into this. The man with the ring laughed loudly. Too late for that. He turned to Walter. Get out of the truck. Walter swallowed hard. I'm just a farmer. I don't know anything. I believe you. The man nodded. But you've seen our faces. That's the problem. I felt the blood in my body run cold. No, Walter couldn't be dragged into this. He had only been kind enough to give us a ride. Archer seemed to think the same. He opened the truck door. Don't. I grabbed his arm. If you get out, they won't let us go. Archer looked at me, his voice very calm. Hayes, if we keep sitting here, Walter will die. I couldn't speak. He gently pulled my hand away. Trust me. Then he stepped out of the truck. I immediately followed. The man with the ring smiled, satisfied. There. I like people who understand reason. He gave a signal. 2 of his men approached, aiming their guns at us. Walter threw open the door and jumped down. Don't. I'll go. I don't need the truck. Please. He was trembling so hard he could barely stand. The man with the ring stared at Walter for a long moment, then suddenly burst out laughing. Old man, you think I want to take you? Walter didn't answer. The man pointed at us. I only need these 2. He tilted his head. If you're smart enough, get back in your truck. Drive back the way you came. And forget you ever met them. Walter looked at us. His eyes were red. Archer nodded slightly at him. Go. Please call the police. Walter bit his lip hard. Finally, he climbed back into the truck. The pickup turned around, slowly disappearing into the dark. I could only hope that he would really call the police. The moment the truck vanished, the man with the ring's expression changed. He stepped toward Archer. I told you, you couldn't outrun me. Archer looked straight into his eyes. What do you want? Money. I can. Crack. A hard punch sent Archer to the ground. I rushed forward. Archer. Another man immediately grabbed and held me back. The man with the ring rubbed his hand. I hate 2 things. First, people who talk too much. Second, people who think money solves everything. Archer pushed himself up with his hands. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth, but his eyes still didn't lower. I'll ask again. What do you want? This time, the man didn't laugh. He bent down, staring at Archer for a long time, then said something that left both of us stunned. I don't need your money. I need the thing you stole from my son. The air seemed to freeze. Archer frowned. I don't understand. Of course you don't. The man pulled an old photograph from his wallet, then threw it down on the ground in front of Archer. In the photo was a young man around 20 years old, standing next to Archer, both wearing film crew clothing. Archer stared at the photo, his pupils constricted. Evan? I turned to look at him. You knew him? Archer nodded slowly. 3 years ago. He was a lighting assistant on the first film I won an award for. The man with the ring clenched both fists. Not just an assistant. He was my son. I looked at the photo again. Evan's smile was radiant. Clearly the two of them had once been quite close. Archer murmured. But Evan died in a car accident. That's right. The man ground out each word. An accident. That happened after he cried for 3 straight days. Because of you. Archer went pale. I didn't know. I know. The man laughed bitterly. Because you never bothered to know. You were too busy being a star to ever notice that my son loved you. I looked at Archer. His face was white as a sheet, as if all the blood had drained out of him. I truly didn't know, he said very quietly. I only ever saw Evan as a younger brother. The man screamed. But he didn't see you that way. The sound echoed through the forest. He panted, catching his breath, his eyes red and bloodshot. He wrote letters. He sent messages. He told me everything. He knew you were gay. He thought, if he waited long enough, you would finally see him. Archer closed his eyes. Pain was clear on his face. I'm sorry. I truly didn't know. I don't need your apology. The man raised the gun. I want you to feel what it's like to lose the person who matters most. Then, he slowly turned the barrel, aiming it straight at me. Archer immediately stepped in front of me, blocking the shot. No, the man smiled. So in the end, you did find someone you want to protect. I nearly forgot how to breathe. The black gun barrel was pointed straight at me, but the one standing in front of me, blocking it, was Archer. The distance between us was so small I could see his shoulders rise and fall with each breath. I unconsciously grabbed his wrist. Archer. He didn't turn around. He only said very softly, don't step out. But, please. It wasn't an order. It was a plea. I had never heard his voice like that before. The man with the silver ring looked at us, his eyes mixed with hatred and mockery. How interesting. 3 days ago, you two didn't even know each other. Today, one of you is ready to die for the other. Archer looked straight at him. You're mistaken. Hayes has nothing to do with what happened to Evan. Let him go. And then what? The man smirked. So you can keep playing the hero? Archer stayed silent. Let me ask you something. He spoke after a few seconds. If you kill Hayes today, will your son come back to life? The whole forest fell silent. Even the men standing behind said nothing. The man tightened his grip on the gun. His eyes trembled for a moment, but only for a moment. No, he answered. But at least, I won't have to watch you live happily. I've never been happy, Archer said, his voice strangely calm. Since the day Evan died. I've always wondered why he quit so suddenly. I called. I texted. No one answered. I was only told he died in an accident. If I had known that Evan loved me, I still wouldn't have been able to love him back. But at least, I wouldn't have let him leave this world alone. For the first time, the man didn't answer right away. His eyes wavered for a moment. I realized this wasn't just a random kidnapper. This was a father who had lost his son, and let that grief turn into hatred. Right at that moment, the sound of a helicopter came from far away. At first it was just like the wind. Then it grew louder. One of the men looked up. There's a chopper. The man with the ring spun around. Why is there a helicopter? The other man stammered. I don't know. I looked at Archer. He was looking at me too. No words needed. We both thought of Walter. Maybe he had really called the police. And this time, they had really come. Sirens wailed from the main road. Another man ran up in a panic. Boss, there are police cars. At least 6 of them. The man ground his teeth. Damn it. He pointed the gun at Archer. This is all your fault. Archer stood still. I'm right here. Don't touch Hayes. I stepped forward. No, I won't let you. Archer turned to look at me. For the first time, his eyes were strangely gentle. Hayes, thank you. I froze. Thank you for not leaving me behind. Even when you could have. I felt my eyes burn. I won't let you die. Archer smiled. Me neither. The man with the ring suddenly shouted. Grab them. Everything happened in just a few seconds. 2 men lunged forward. I pushed Archer aside. A gunshot rang out. Bang! The bullet grazed my arm. A sharp pain shot from my shoulder down to my elbow. I fell hard to the ground. Hayes! Archer rushed toward me. Right at that moment, helicopter spotlights swept down over the forest. A voice boomed through a loudspeaker. FBI! Drop your weapons! Hands up! Everything descended into chaos instantly. Gunfire. Shouting. The screech of cars braking. The man with the ring tried to flee into the forest. Archer suddenly lunged and grabbed him. Both of them fell down the slope together. Archer! I forced myself up despite my bleeding arm. The man struggled violently. His gun fell to the ground. The 2 of them grappled. Just as he reached for the gun again, Archer threw a hard punch. The man with the ring went still. Just seconds later, 3 FBI agents rushed in, slammed him to the ground, cuffed him. It's over now, one agent shouted. The sound of handcuffs clicking shut. I sank down onto the ground. My whole body drained of strength. Archer ran to my side. He knelt down, both hands trembling as he held my shoulders. Let me see. I'm fine. Don't lie to me. His voice was hoarse. I looked at him. For the first time since we'd met, I saw tears in Archer's eyes. Not from fear, but because he thought he had lost me. I tried to smile. It's just a graze. He wrapped his arms around me, very tightly. The forest was still full of lights and voices. I heard him whisper by my ear. I really didn't want to lose you. I closed my eyes gently, then wrapped my free arm around him too. It wasn't the embrace of a star and a fan, nor was it the embrace of 2 strangers. It was the embrace of 2 young men who had just walked out of hell together. 3 days later, I woke up in a hospital room at University of Washington Medical Center. The first thing I saw was a bouquet of sunflowers on the windowsill. No sender's name, just a small card. Don't try to be the strongest. Just get well. Hey, I smiled. I didn't need to guess who it was. The door opened slightly. A nurse came in to check my arm. How are you feeling? Much better. There's been a visitor sitting in the hallway since morning. She smiled. He's asked 3 times whether you'd woken up yet. I laughed. Let him in. Less than a minute later, Archer appeared. He wore a gray hoodie, a baseball cap, and a face mask. On an ordinary day, no one would guess the man standing there was the most famous movie star in America. But I recognized him instantly. He pulled off the mask. Hi. Hi. Somehow, after everything we'd been through, the 2 of us started with an awkward greeting like people who just met. Archer pulled up a chair and sat down. Does your arm still hurt? A little. But the doctor says it'll be fine in a few weeks. He nodded slightly. Then we both fell silent. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was just, neither of us knew where to begin. Finally, I spoke first. How's Walter doing? He's fine. Archer smiled. He came in to testify. Police confirmed he had nothing to do with it. That's good. I thought so too. He leaned back in the chair. As for the ringleader, he's being charged with a long list of crimes. Organizing a kidnapping. Illegal weapons possession. Murder. I looked up. Murder. Archer nodded. The FBI found out they'd kidnapped 2 other people before. Neither of them survived. I shuddered. If Walter hadn't called the police, Archer and I might have become the next names on that list. A while later, Archer took a brown leather wallet out of his backpack. "This is yours." I opened it. My ID card. My bank card. A photo of me with my parents on graduation day. Everything still intact. "Found it in the warehouse," he said. "Thank you. I owe you much more than that." I looked at him. "Owe me what?" "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have thought to cut the ropes. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have dared run out of that warehouse. If it weren't for you," he smiled faintly, "I'd probably still think I could handle everything alone." I shook my head. "No, we saved each other." This time Archer didn't argue. He just looked at me. For a long time, in the days that followed, my life turned upside down. News of the kidnapping appeared across every TV channel. But the FBI kept my identity confidential. I was only referred to as a 24-year-old male victim. I felt relieved. I didn't want fame. I just wanted my ordinary life back. And yet, there was one person who wouldn't let me disappear. That was Archer. Every day he texted, "Have you eaten yet? Don't forget to take your medicine. What did the doctor say today?" At first I replied very politely. After a week, we started texting about everything under the sun. Movies, food, basketball, even how my cat Pumpkin hated everyone except me. One night, Archer texted, "Does Pumpkin hate me too?" I replied, "You haven't even met him yet. How would you know?" 3 minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Then let me meet him." I laughed. One afternoon at the end of October, Archer showed up outside my apartment. No bodyguards, no fancy car, just an old SUV, carrying a bag of Mexican food. "I brought tacos," he said. "I brought a cat," I replied. As soon as we stepped inside, Pumpkin was already sitting in the middle of the living room. He stared intently at Archer. Archer stared back. "Looks like he's judging me." "I think so too." 2 minutes later, Pumpkin jumped straight into Archer's lap. My eyes went wide. "No way." Archer was just as surprised. "I thought you said he hated strangers." "I thought so too." Pumpkin curled up and fell asleep peacefully, as if he'd known Archer for a long time. Archer gently stroked the orange fur, then turned to me with a smile. "Looks like I've been approved." I looked at that smile. For the first time, not through a screen, not in a life-or-death situation, just an ordinary afternoon. Sunlight streaming through the window, the smell of warm tacos, a cat sleeping in his lap, and my heart skipped softly. I knew that feeling. I felt it once before, but this time came slower, gentler, and more frightening, because I wasn't sure I still had the courage to fall in love again. Right then, Archer suddenly spoke up. "Hayes. Next weekend. Would you like to come with me to the University of Southern California?" I was surprised. "For what?" "I've been invited to give a talk to film students." He smiled. "I think it'd be more fun if you came along." I hadn't answered yet when Archer's phone rang. His manager's name lit up on the screen. He picked up. Just a few seconds later, the smile disappeared from his lips. When the call ended, I asked, "What's wrong?" Archer looked at me, his eyes full of hesitation. "Hayes, someone just sent an envelope to the company. Inside was a photo of you." My heart sank. There was a note with it. "What did it say?" Archer gripped his phone tightly, then slowly read out each word. "This isn't over yet.